pretty much by the time anybody sees this, it'll be Monday, so I just figure I might as well open with that at this point. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say, so we're just gonna just jump right into it and just get started so I can get to bed. Not that I won't be asleep. Not that I won't probably be awake till like 11:30 midnight anyway, so whatever. All right, we're just gonna go ahead and roll right into it and get started with our intro. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Phoenix Reads. Today we are going to be reading a series of Am I the Asshole? That's right, guys. It is Monday. Now, I don't pre-read any of the stories I'm about to read with you, so these will be a surprise to us all. I will leave any usernames in the description if you want to go leave your opinion on their post, given it is still up. My username for Reddit is in the description. Feel free to tag me in stories you'd like to hear me read. So, grab your snacks, your drinks, and let's get started. Why do I keep drawing a blank on that? Okay, I was right. I wish I could like organize my background music stuff because that would be so much easier. All right, we're just gonna go ahead and just get started. Happy Monday, everybody. I hope you guys have had a good weekend. I know that by the time you guys hear this, it will have been Father's Day, so I hope you guys had a good Father's Day, or were able to celebrate in some way, shape, or form. And if you chose not to celebrate Father's Day, you know what? That's okay too, and I hope instead you still had a great Sunday. We are just gonna go ahead and roll right into it with our first Am I the Asshole story. Am I the asshole for shutting down my parents by saying I won't raise their grandchild just to look good to others? That's pretty heavy. I'm already calling it. I don't think that they're the asshole. Although, unless it's their kid, then they might be the asshole. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. Because I mean, I'm immediately thinking that it's like their niece or nephew that they're talking about. But it might be their own kid. Who knows? I never know what to get with some of these Reddit posts, if I'm being completely honest. So I, 27F, was estranged from my deceased sister for 5 years after she had an affair with my fiance that not only I found out about, but resulted in a pregnancy. I'm already calling it not the asshole. I'm already calling it. This person is not the asshole. I cut the two of them out of my life and declared that they were dead to me. They had a child who is now 4, but maybe close to 5 now. I'm not sure. I have never met the child. I never wanted to meet the child or be in their life. My parents knew their grandchild and supported the child while my sister and ex were alive. They were on and off after I left him. I heard from friends that their breakups were quite explosive. When they died in a car accident recently, people were shocked, but also kind of not, because a lot of people assumed they were arguing and didn't focus on the road. Their child went into foster care. My parents tried to take them, but were denied on the grounds of health and mobility. The child's paternal relatives did not want to take the child. No surprises there, though. And so my parents turned to me. I'm still sticking with my guns. I'm calling not the asshole here. I am now engaged again to Luke, and we bought our forever home last year. We are stable and happy, and my parents believe we should take their grandchild. I told them I would not be a good fit to raise the child, and I was sorry, but that was the end of the discussion as far as I'm concerned. Luke told them he was with me on that. My parents went behind my back to try and talk him into it, but he told me and I told them to stop. They begged me again to reconsider and said, imagine how nice it would be to know my nibbling. Sorry. I don't know why. I very rarely come across that actual word sometimes. So to actually hear it was kind of funny. to get to be there, to have a child who is part of our family, kept in our family, and raised lovingly around people who want the best for them. But they don't want anything to do with the child, so obviously they don't necessarily want, I don't want to say that they don't want the best for them, but they don't really care, because they don't want to be a part of this child's life. So I feel like that would be a really bad position, because imagine having a situation or having to deal with just a person in general. I'm not gonna just say a child, but imagine having to deal with a person that you want nothing to do with, that you have made clear since the moment that they have been brought into your life, you want nothing to do with them, being pushed on you to live with you, and you have to take care of them. Regardless of whether it's a child or not, that's a situation nobody should be in. Again, they're really long paragraphs, so I'm gonna lose my spot from time to time, so I apologize. I told them that that is not the job for me and to let it go. A few days went by and I thought that they might have let it drop. Then they call and tell me to think about how good it will look for me, the betrayed sister and ex-fiance, to have enough love and compassion to raise the child that was conceived out of said betrayal and love them and be the best mom to that child who could exist. They said people would think I'm a saint and would always think of me as an incredible person. I told them I am no saint. I do not want to be a saint. I don't need to be seen as some incredible, amazing... Whoa! I don't have the rest of it. I don't know what happened. Okay, I guess whoever I saved this from didn't have the rest of it, or I lost it. But I'm assuming it just needs to be, like, incredible, some amazing person. So I'm still even though we are not getting the very ass end of that story, I'm still calling it. I'm still calling not the asshole. Because that would be, like, let's say this person decided they never wanted kids, like, ever, ever, ever. And similar situation, their fiance cheats on them, you know, ends up having a kid with their sister, and then it's like, no, you need to raise this kid. I'd be like, no, bitch. No, I don't. And I'm sorry, would it be, like, an incredible, like, crazy story long term? Yes. But I really believe that that kind of shit only happens in the movies. And imagine the mental drain that you would have to go through day by day to look at somebody that looks similar to somebody you once loved and were going to marry, and your sister who literally took that person away from you. Well, I can't say that she took that person away from them. It's more like, imagine having to look at somebody that you just do not like every single day, or somebody that looks like them every single day. My husband has this saying sometimes, and sometimes I think it's a little harsh, and in a case like this, since I'm talking about a child, it might still be a little harsh, but I believe that this person has what we call the feelings of fuck them people and anybody that looks like them people. And you know what? More power to him, because honestly, I wouldn't either. It would be not okay in my book either. I couldn't do it. Am I the asshole for refusing to babysit while family goes on vacation? I mean, I'd be kind of pissed if I was, like, the only person left behind for a vacation and had to babysit. My aunt is retiring. She's made plans to go in a cruise. I think it means go on a cruise. 3-day stay in Hawaii and then back. All her adult children are going. They invited our side of the family. Nobody told me. I'm not in Facebook, I think it means on, which is the only place they communicate. They have my number. No one asked me, though. My entire family made plans for weeks to go. They made accommodations and bought tickets, everything. No one mentioned it to me in all of that time. This is starting to sound like they knew you were probably going to say no to whatever they had planned. And it was like, if we spring it on them last minute, they have to say yes. Finally, it's a week away, and I bring up to my family that at our parents' house about how I hope she has fun, and I should get her and should I get her a gift, etc. And my sister says, "Yeah, grab her something. We'll give it to her on the cruise." This is the first I'm hearing about them going. They said they assumed I was staying to watch the babies for them. My cousin's 3-year-old, my sister's 2-year-old, and twin infants. Yuck. That's a lot of littles. I feel like they didn't tell me specifically, so I'd be the only person not going, and they could try and force all the kids on me. Well, I told them, no thanks. I told them I still had time to make accommodations and come too, and I would like to go. I honestly didn't want to go after feeling left out like that, but I figured maybe if it was really an accidental issue of being left out, they wouldn't mind. Something's telling me they're gonna mind. I took time off, and then my cousin, who was coordinating the entire thing, texted me saying she was so sorry, but there's no space left. She only secured enough for everyone that RSVP'd, and the cruise is sold out. But I'm welcome to fly out and hang with everyone in Hawaii if I can find my own accommodations. But since everyone planned on me taking the kids, I'd need to find childcare first. Excuse me, they are not my fucking kids. I would be like, I don't have to find childcare for none of these little bastards because they ain't mine to take care of. You don't get to, that would be like hiring a babysitter and then the babysitter has an emergency and they can't come, and then you telling them, being like, well, I hired you, but since you can't come, you now have to find childcare for my kids. It's not how that works. That's not how that works in the slightest. I told her everybody, some of this, it says everybody called me. I think it means no one even called me to discuss me taking the kids. She didn't reply. Nobody was. So since I already had the time off, my boyfriend and adult son and I decided to take our own vacation. We all packed up the day before my family left and took off for a week-long vacation states away. I purposely didn't tell anybody. Honestly, I wouldn't have either. I started getting calls the next morning as everyone was coming to my house expecting to drop off their kids. The fucking audacity of these people, my God. I didn't answer. I refused their calls and ignored their messages the whole trip. We had a fantastic time and made great memories, as you should have. When I got back, my family was furious. They said multiple people had to drop out of the trip and couldn't get their money back because they couldn't find last-minute childcare. Oh, really? It's almost like you had said multiple times, I'm not watching your kids. What the fuck else? I could fucking never. I could never. I'm telling you, the gods do not put me in positions like this because they know. They damn well know. I may not know what I would do, but they know. I told them that's too bad, that sucks so much, they should have arranged something before they left. I reminded them no one ever set anything up with me, and since I had already had the time off, I decided to enjoy that with my family. I'm sorry it didn't work out, but I never offered to watch anyone's kids. You all assumed I would because you didn't invite me to keep me free to watch them. You didn't coordinate. I had other plans. That's how it works. That is how it works. My cousin thinks I'm being a complete asshole, that this isn't how family treats each other. You know what? You're right. This isn't how family treats each other. Your family should never just, keep you out of the loop for a family vacation and then throw a whole fit because they planned on you babysitting their children without actually properly asking you and getting a proper answer back, and then throwing a whole fit because you were like, oh, there's a vacation? Okay, I'll take the time off. Oh, sorry, it's sold out of where we're going. Okay, that's fine. I'll just go on a vacation with my own family. And then throwing a fit because you're no longer available to watch their kids that you never said yes to watching in the first place. Sorry. I'm trying not to get all hyped up about this, but it's really fucking hard. It was an accident that no one told me, but it's not her fault. She assumed I had been told and assumed I'd be okay with having the kids because I have before, with discussions and coordination, that is. She thinks I was being... Oh, goodness. Okay, so it cut off in the middle of the paragraph, and then the next one is like start at the top of the paragraph, so I have no idea where I am. Oh, she thinks I was being really selfish and childish and purposely going out of my way to be an asshole. She's even saying I'm lucky they didn't call the police on me for child abandonment. That is not how that works. She never agreed, OP never agreed to watching y'all's kids. They never said, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Go ahead, drop them off. Doesn't work like that. You can't just assume somebody's going to watch your kids because they have in the past. It does not work that way. Because they expected me to be home and be able to care for them all. I told her that's ridiculous. You can't just assume and expect things without my permission and input, and you can't report me to the police for not wanting to care for your babies. Was I being an asshole for all of this? Should I have just kept things peaceful and spent time with the kids since I got the time off anyway? I could have done some fun things with them, but I really didn't want to. My house is not kid-proof, and honestly, I don't really enjoy spending time with kids. Yes, I had my own, but I'm not really a kid person, and he's an adult now. Those days are behind me. I'm not very interested in reliving them with other people's kids. No, this person really is not the asshole. And honestly, I think their family is the asshole here, because that's an absolutely disgusting way to treat people, if I'm being completely honest. It's just, it's 2023, people. We are no longer doing this bullshit of doing things that we don't want to do just to keep the peace. Our peace comes first. Plain and simple. Our peace and our children's peace comes first. And if everybody else doesn't like that, then they aren't part of your peace. And you know what? That's just the God's ways of showing you that it's like, hey, it's time for this person to exit your life. Plain and simple. It's 2023. We are no longer stepping on eggshells around family to keep the peace. It's not worth it. I've been there for years. I have been there. It's no longer worth it. We ain't doing that no more. We are, however, going to move on to number 3. Am I the asshole for refusing to eat a smash cake? Okay, first off, I was 100% certain until I just read this title that smash cakes were for the baby only. Nobody else was supposed to eat out of it. I was 100% certain that, or at least I thought with 100% certainty, that smash cakes are for you to give to the 1-year-old baby. The baby smashes it in hopeful theory, because I know I tried to do that with a big piece of cake for my son when he turned a year old, and he wanted nothing to do with it. He was like, no, I don't like it. So in theory, they're supposed to just dig their hands in there and put it all over their face and hopefully get at least a 1/16 of that cake in their mouth. I never thought that it was something that everyone's supposed to share after the baby's done their smashing. Because, okay, listen, I have a kid. Okay? I have a kid. He's 7. I still will not drink after this child because I have seen this child take a drink out of some of my water, because I'm be like, yeah, you can have some of mommy's water. And then there's backwash in it, and I see little bits of shit floating around in there, and I'm just like, you can have the rest of my water now, thank you. Absolutely not am I eating after another child, especially one that is not my own. Yesterday was my nephew's first birthday, and my sister and brother-in-law had a little get-together at their house. When it was time for cake, they brought out my nephew's smash cake. Exactly what it sounds. A cake for the baby to smash up and get icing all over themselves for cute pictures or whatever. I kind of imagined that it would be the size of a big cupcake, but they brought out a regular-sized round birthday cake. I will never understand these parents that buy these huge smash cakes for their children. Because literally, 98% of that cake is going to go to waste. And cakes like that are not cheap. Like, they're at least $40 a pop. At least, depending on where you get it. So, that's disgusting. That's just, we're not doing that. I kind of figured they just splurged and still expected the cake to just be for him to play around with. But, that's a big but, after my nephew had gone at this cake with his bare hands and stuck his whole face in it, my sister started scooping up the mangled remains and distributing servings to everyone. Just a handful of family members, and everyone else was actually eating it. Listen, I don't like throwing race into these kind of things. But as a white person, something is telling me, deep in the whitest part of my core, that this is a white family. Because this sounds like white people shenanigans. And you know what we say? You can't eat at everybody's house. That's all I'm gonna say. That's gross. I declined because, seriously? I didn't want to eat something that had a baby's grubby hands and body all over it. And I was surprised that anyone else did. My sister insisted I take a portion. I said, really? No, that's gross. Now, I probably wouldn't have used the word gross if I wasn't on the spot, but I was not at all prepared to have to politely decline to eat baby spit. Wild. My sister was very hurt by that and told me later, on a phone call that I thought was way longer than it needed to be for the severity of the infraction, that she thought I was being extremely judgmental, that it wasn't a big deal, we're all family, don't participate if I really don't want to, but don't call her gross, etc. Who the fuck decides that they're going to have a 1-year-old's birthday party and then serve said smash cake to their friends and family? Even if it's just family. I don't give a flying fuck if y'all got the same fucking chromosomes. No. It's gross. Don't do that. It's gross. Yuck. You can't eat at everybody's house. You can't eat at everybody's house. And usually, we only have this kind of issue because people like to make weird-ass fucking meals that they go, it's a casserole. No, Becky. That's a fucking abomination against food. That's just gross. What I have usually seen in every other, child's birthday party or birthday video I've come across on Facebook is that there's a little tiny smash cake, maybe, don't fall off. Maybe, yay big at the biggest. And then the kid smashes it, or they make their kid smash it. Most of the time it ends up being the parents doing it, from what I've seen. And then they have, a regular, matching-ish, color-wise, square cake for everybody else that attends. Because nobody wants to eat after you fucking crotch goblin, Becky. God. No offense to any Beckys that are moms that might try to feature their crotch goblins spit cake to anybody else. But you gross. However, we are going to move on to number 4. I'm trying to get better at number of saying when we're moving on instead of just moving on. Am I the asshole for refusing to babysit my sister's kids? This is definitely the babysitting episode, apparently. My F24 sister, F29, is in a tight spot. She has 2 kids, Ashley 6 and Matt 4. Again, I really hope we're not putting real names in these stories. Because, y'all, please stop. Please don't. Her husband passed away in a work-related accident. This is the dead episode and the babysitting episode. Lots of death. I won't go into much detail, but she got quite some money from his life insurance, and there's some other legal issues going on, and maybe she'll get more money out of it. Prior to the accident, she was a stay-at-home mom, but now, for obvious reasons, she needs to get a job. I don't have a regular job, so I'm free most days. Oh, I was hoping the next thing would start. Well, she asked me to babysit for her kids during the day. She said she'll pay me whatever I want. She said she found something that will pay her well, and she's able to keep their house and lifestyle and save the other money for her kids' future / emergencies. I told her that I don't want to be a babysitter to someone else. Oh, and to ask someone else. She told me that no one else can because her in-laws live in another state, our brother and sister-in-law work too, and both of our parents also have jobs. Basically, I'm the only one who's free during the days. I told her in that case she should send them to daycare, but she said that the kids aren't that well since the accident, and she would prefer if they can be babysat for family at least for a couple of months until they can get used to the idea of losing their dad. Okay, that part I can understand, of not wanting to just be like, everything's changing all at once. They're no longer being watched by mom, which is who they're used to be watched by. Dad's no longer around, and now they have to go be watched by strangers. I can understand that, but I'm still going to stand by the fact that OP has every right to decline to say no. Lastly, she told me if I could at least babysit for her in the morning, then our mom agreed to cut some hours so she can babysit during the afternoon. I told her that what they're going through is very sad, but I stood my ground about not babysitting. That's simply not what I want now. I told her that was the final answer and to stop calling me over that because I won't change my mind. She cried and called me an asshole. She went on and on about how hard her life is and such. She said that her kids cry all the time because of their dad and they need family now and how I should help her when I can. I told her that her kids are not my responsibility. She can ask, but I already said no, so she should drop it. Now everyone in my family is angry at me. Am I the asshole? Edit. I am free most days because I work some nights. I don't work full time. However, that's not relevant. I don't pull all-nighters. I get home quite early. My job is not the reason I don't want to babysit. The reason why I don't want to help her is simply because I don't want to. I could babysit if I wanted to, but I don't. And again, that's a boundary. You don't have to do that kind of stuff. You cannot... Goodness, sorry. You cannot want to babysit your family just because, for no other reason than the fact that you just don't fucking want to. So, because you don't want to, is that kind of like an asshole reason? For most people, I would assume yes. But at the same time, I feel like it's so stupid to sit there and be like, oh yeah, well, I just really don't want to. No is no. You don't need to explain yourself to anybody as to why you don't want to do something. Kind of plain and simple. We are now going to move over to Am I the Devil? So these ones usually end up getting a little bit worse, a little bit more infuriating. So let's move on to number 5. As some of our Am I the Devil stories do, this one does have 2 different titles, so I will read the original title and then the remastered title afterwards. Am I the asshole for moaning like a jackass about my coach taking us to Olive Garden and not a local Italian food place? Given I have not been to Olive Garden in I think about a good 4-ish years, but they're still pretty fucking good, so I mean, as long as you're not paying for it, free food is free food, right? I am using a throwaway because I currently have a JUCO scholarship to play next year and use that account all the time, and my coach has already said my behavior could cost me my scholarship. Maybe we should just leave it alone then. We are currently on a bus trip to play a doubleheader today. Last night, my coach took us to Olive Garden for dinner, and I had already Googled that there was a 5-star Yelp place only 8 miles away. Okay, listen. This person probably has to pay for at least 25, anywhere from, I'm going to assume 15 to 30 kids. Not counting any adults that are also coming along. That's a lot of fucking money. So unless you want to fork over the money to go to the 5-star restaurant where probably nothing is cheaper than at least $25, be my fucking guest. At first, I suggested that I would make the reservations, and he totally blew me off. Then I said I would work it out with the bus driver to drive us there. He said Olive Garden is in the parking lot of our hotel, and then blew me off again. Finally, as we were walking over, I told him that basically since I'm a foodie, I refuse... That is the stupidest... I've never heard anybody use that as a fucking excuse for anything. To act so fucking entitled. Oh. Finally, as we were walking over, I told him that basically, since I'm a foodie, I refuse to eat the boxed frozen dinners they serve at Olive Garden. He told me one more thing, and he's benching me for the weekend. I said, fine, dude, and that caused him to take me aside, and now he's told me I'm benched, and I've been moaning like a jackass for hours now, and to shut your fucking mouth. Okay, given, I don't think any adult should cuss at a minor child. It doesn't matter if they're a teenager, anything like that. I can understand children are very, very fucking infuriating, but I would be absolutely livid if I ever found out that any of my kids' teachers or coaches ever cussed at my kids. I don't give a flying fuck. You don't cuss at somebody else's kids. End of story. I still don't think that this person is not the asshole. I still think that the OP is definitely the asshole, but I do believe that you should not be cussing at other people's kids like that. That's just my personal preference, though. I told him I know more about food than he does, and maybe he should listen to me. He said, I'm kicking you off the fucking team if you say one word to me again this weekend. I called my parents since he swore at me, and now my parents are fighting because my mom is going to call the principal to get coach at least suspended and maybe fired, and my dad says I deserve whatever I have coming to me, and he says he's glad if my bullshit attitude bites me in the ass. Also, okay, now that I have a little bit more information on that, I definitely feel like this kid acts this entitled all the fucking time, and it's definitely the mom's fault. So maybe now I'm not feeling so bad about him for getting cussed at, because apparently they act like this all the time. I guarantee this kid is only on the team because mommy made it so. That's how I'm feeling right now. Also, my situationship, who is our student trainer, said she doesn't want to see me because I was embarrassing. My life is falling apart. Since everyone except my mom, my team, my dad, my coaches, my situationship, am I the asshole? Yes. You are very much the asshole in that situation because it's a school. They don't have the kind of money to just take everybody to a fucking 5-star restaurant every single time they fucking come out. Anytime you go somewhere, you can't just be like, oh yes, let's go to the fancy place 8 miles down the road. It don't work like that. Sorry. The remake, the remastered title is The Real World is going to karate chop him with unlimited breadsticks. Hella facts. Hella facts. Who the fuck lets their kids act like this? Entitled people. We're gonna move on to number 6, though. Am I the asshole for making my son quit his part-time job to go on our family vacation? I'm curious to know how old said kid is. That's my big thing. Because it's like, is this kid, like, still in school and, like, you know, part-time jobs are kind of like a dime a dozen for them, or are they, like, older and actually need the job? Because I'm assuming if you can just, like, let your kid quit, like, willy-nilly for a job because you have the money to just go on a vacation, I'm assuming, again, there's that word, that you don't really need their income. But let's see. My husband and I have 3 children, a 16-year-old son and 2 daughters, 13 and 10. Our son got a part-time job as a lifeguard at a pool back in March. We live in South Florida, so the pools are open pretty much always. It was a good job for him. He liked it, and he was happy to have the money. The issue was his boss was an ass about giving time off. Probably because, you know, lifeguards are kind of hard to have sometimes. Because, again, it's one of those things where you have to be certified, you have to go through certain classes, and that takes a lot of, like, they can't just have, like, extra lifeguards for that reason, because they have to have them in rotation. Our family takes a yearly vacation to this little beach house we rent for a year. We've done, you mean every year? Because I can't imagine renting a beach house for a whole year just to only go, like, once. Like, that's, I'm assuming yearly. We've done this since the year I was pregnant with my son. Ooh, so it's the mom. Entitled mothers. We've got deaths, babysitting, and entitled moms. Holy shit, this is an episode. We've done this since the year I was pregnant with my son. Of course, the kids all love it and look forward to it. Well, my son told his boss about the week when he signed up because it was only 6 weeks after he started there. He denied it. So far, I'm not liking the manager. Like, I feel like that's kind of like an asshole thing to do. Like, you gave, like, that's plenty of fucking notice. I'm sorry. That is plenty of fucking notice to find help or somebody to cover. We made it clear he was still going. It's just a part-time job, and there are a million of those. That's kind of what I said. He protested, but we made him go, and his boss fired him. He was furious the entire time. He refused to do any family stuff or listen to us, so he was grounded when he got back. This is a really hard place to sit from. I'm hoping that I get more information and it kind of helps me come to an end kind of opinion. It's not that we don't trust him to stay home alone or anything like that. We just don't want him to prioritize work over family, especially some weekend job. He found a job at another pool 2 weeks later, so it's not like this impacted him in any way, but he still holds a grudge about it. He claims we didn't respect his choices, and he's right. We don't respect him trying to choose his job over his family time, though we don't hold it against him since he's just a teen. That is wild to just, like, like, you just practically said you don't respect your child. End of story. I don't respect my child. Like, they're new. They're discovering who they are in the workplace. And that's a huge step for any teenager to discover. I feel really fucking bad for this kid. Like, that's such a hard position to be in, I feel. The remastered title for this was, Am I the Devil for Getting My 16-year-old Fired from His New Job Because Family Values? It's... If you trusted him to stay alone, then you should have let him. But I also understand that as a teenager, there's only going to be so many family vacations they're going to be a part of like that left. So I can understand that. But at the same time, they are also at some point old enough to determine whether or not they want to go on said family vacations like that anymore. I mean, when my mom and dad got out of prison when I was 15 years old, we had done family vacations with my grandma and my uncle practically all my life. They were always something to look forward to, kind of, because, I mean, we kind of did the same thing every year. But, like, her first year out of prison, I was like, I don't want to go. I want to stay home. I want to spend time with my mom and my dad. And, because they weren't living together yet. They weren't supposed to be, according to their parole officers. Because they were not legally married before they went into prison, they were considered each other's enablers when they got out. So they were not supposed to be around each other until they finished, like, until their parole officer said, okay, we don't think you guys are going to, you know, fall back into old habits by being around each other, and so you guys can. So they weren't allowed to live with each other, but my dad would come visit, like, every single day. So, I mean, I didn't catch any slack for it, though. Which, amazingly, of all the things for my grandma to not throw a whole hissy fit about that I have done in my whole life, that was not one of them. So, but my brother still went, so, you know, her perfect child went. So, that's probably why she was okay with it. But we're going to move on to number 7. That last one, though, that's a hard one to pick from. I'm not going to lie. I can see both sides of the I can see all 3 sides of the situation, and it's okay, not really 3 sides, because fuck the manager. 6 weeks is more than enough time. I can see both the kid's side and I can see the mom's side, and I can see parts of the mom's side. I'm not gonna say I agree with her side as a whole, but there are, like, certain things reading in between the lines that I see that it's like it's hard to pick from. But we're going to move on to number 7. Am I the asshole for breaking a promise and attending my stepdaughter's graduation? Why should you not attend your stepdaughter's graduation? I'll start by explaining some backstory. I, 54M, lost my first wife when my son, 25M, and daughter, 22F, were ages 9 and 12. Both of my kids took it as hard as you would expect, and to this day have a poor relationship with both my current wife, Doreen. This is the only one I have seen that has had a name that has like quotations around it, so I'm assuming it's a fake name. 49F. And my stepdaughter, Amy, 18F. I started dating Doreen about 4 months after my first wife passed away. As such, my kids believe I cheated on their mom. 4 months? That is fast as fuck. You are fast as fuck, boy, and not in a good way. Amy was 5 when we got together, and as such, I see her as my own daughter. On to the actual story. 4 years ago, 2 days before Kay's high school graduation, Amy got very ill while visiting her grandparents and ended up needing emergency surgery. My wife and I rushed to be with Amy, and admittedly, I did not communicate well with Kay. At the time, Kay didn't pick up my calls, so I left her a voicemail and several messages, explaining what happened and telling Kay I was sorry, but I would make it up to her. A few hours go by, and I get a call from Kay, and she is in hysterics, telling me what a terrible father I am, and stated that if I did not attend her graduation, I would be dead to her. I chose to support Amy. I'm going to grab the tissues and put them right here, because something's telling me I'm going to have a lot of feels with this. Which I did not expect to have. True to her word, Kay did not contact me on the day of her graduation, and when came home, Kay's things had been moved out of the house with a note explaining that we were no longer family and to never contact her again. Luckily, Kay and I were able to reconcile. However, I promised her I would give her absolutely anything in the world to make her forgive me. She said that she would forgive me as long as I refused to attend Amy's graduation, as that this was the only way to make it fair. I agreed at the time, thinking she was just joking or angry and would soon forget. This leads me to now. Invitations for Amy's graduation went out, and despite all the hostility, Amy wanted to make sure Kay got one. Kay called Amy later that day and said that she would be unable to attend as she and I would be spending the day together per our agreement. Amy broke down into tears, asking me why I was missing her graduation. I assured her I was not and that I would speak to Kay. Later, I explained to Kay that I simply could not miss Amy's graduation. Kay launched into a tirade about how I was a liar and an asshole and how I could do this to her again. I told her that we would talk when she calmed down, and she said we would never talk again. My son and several of our extended family have all taken Kay's side, saying I didn't see how hurt she was at graduation. My wife believes I am the asshole for even promising that in the first place, as I should have known it would only upset one or both girls. And Amy is just sad and confused, wondering why Kay hates her. I know keeping my promise and not attending Amy's graduation is probably the only way to salvage my relationship with Kay, but no matter how I look at it, I would feel like I'm punishing Amy for having a medical issue. So, am I the asshole? So, I'm going to get a tissue ready just in case, because I might actually cry with this. It's no secret on here. I have been very open about the fact that my dad and I do not have the greatest relationship. I have also been very open about the fact that me and my stepmom do not have the greatest relationship. I don't know if I've told this story on here before. If I have, sorry, I'm just repeating myself. I have very shitty pictures for my graduation. And by shitty, I mean big group or very zoomed in. I think I have one decent picture out of the 4 pictures that were taken that day, that were taken by my brother. My dad and my stepmom were late to my graduation. I never saw them, so honestly, I don't even know if they were there. But according to what my dad told me, which again, I'm taking with a grain of salt on this, They showed up late and left right after my name was called. Before I got married, my name started with a G. My last name started with a G. I did not see them at all. And supposedly, they left because my stepmother had a migraine. I get it. Migraines suck. I get them myself. My mother-in-law gets them, and I have seen her in a lot of terrible pain before, and I feel for her very deeply. They have, however, been to a lot of things for my stepbrother, who I don't really know, like, at all. I know his name, and that is literally it. Because again, I think he's like 3 to 4 years older than me, so like we never really had like to interact. Like we were never forced to interact or get to know each other. When my brother graduated, I made my boyfriend at the time sit on one side of my parents, and I sat on the other side, because I was going to be damned if they did the same thing to my brother that they did to me. Even though my brother was not happy with my dad at the time, because that was around the time that my stepmom kind of like decided to fuck him over when it came to like college and stuff like that, which I've gone over on this channel before. I know I have. So I am very much, I don't want to say biased, but I am very much biased about this situation, because you missed your biological daughter's graduation. And I understand being there for someone you consider just as much your daughter, just as much your child, you know, being there for your wife, because that's a lot to go through as a parent on your own. But also as a parent, you should have realized, be like, hey, I need to be there for my kid too. And because both of you didn't need to be there at the same time. You could have left for the few hours to go attend Kay's graduation. And honestly, I feel like you lied to Kay from the beginning about not going to Amy's graduation, because you never at all even thought about not attending. But not attending did not seem to bother you at all when it came to Kay's graduation. But not attending Amy's is just tearing you the fuck up. So you have no problem losing a relationship with your daughter to save Amy's feelings. And I get it, I do. But I'm really trying to get through this without crying. You also have every right to try to fix things with your daughter. We have no idea if Amy's dad is in the picture or not. So I have no idea if you are the only father figure in Amy's life. But it's so hard, because again, I have stepkids too, but I couldn't imagine missing anybody's graduation, let alone my own son's. It would be absolutely heartbreaking, especially because I've been there. I've been there where my own parent didn't give a flying fuck. So it's really, really hard to... The guy's definitely an asshole. Plain and simple. I can't make up my mind. I don't want to say Kay's an asshole too, because I feel like she's honestly just a kid that's fucking hurt. And she has every right to be. We are going to move on to our last one, though, which I do believe this is our 8th one. Yes. Our 8th one. We're going to move on to this one. after I can figure out how to write. And yeah, we're going to move on to this one. This is going to be our last one for the night. I do believe. Depends on how hyped I get for this. Am I the asshole for being racist to my son's girlfriend? Automatically 10 out of 10, yes. I don't even need to read the rest of the story. Yes, you are the asshole. Racism is never called for. I, 39M, have a son, 17M, who recently got a girlfriend. His girlfriend is black and very nice and kind and beautiful young lady. Oh, sorry. Is a very nice, kind, and beautiful young lady. The way that they had the punctuation threw me off. I have met her and invited her for dinner and family events plenty of times, and she's a joy to be around. But recently, my mother has been staying with us because she is recovering from a surgery she had, and she's going on 70 years old, so she can't do much of her own. I swear to God, if Grandma causes a problem, it's time to put Granny down. We don't deal with, I don't give a fuck how old you are. Being old is not an excuse to be racist. If y'all motherfuckers that are 80, 90 years old can learn how to work a fucking smartphone, y'all can learn to stop being fucking racist. Sorry. Long story short, my mother is a classic racist and being a raging narcissist, and she is not one to hold back from her opinions. Time to put Granny down the way of old Yeller. Bang. Just take her out back, tie her to a tree. At this point, what good is she to the world? I'm trying not to be mean about this, but you know what? We don't stand for racism here. It's not okay. I showed her a photo of my son and his girlfriend, and she went on a 2-hour rant about bloodlines and kept saying they don't look right. And when I said she was coming to dinner, she said she doesn't want the girl near her because it'll disturb her. Bitch, I hate to break it to you, but you already disturbed. Y'all already fucking disturbed. So last minute, I told her she could not come. My son has been trying to invite his girlfriend over every day since, but I said no multiple times due to his grandmother being there and her saying she doesn't want her near her. I just don't want any problems. But he argues that I am being a complacent racist by even allowing her to be here. And even more so for not allowing her to come over to protect a racist. He says I should have told her to leave the moment my mother said all that stuff. But my mother is an elderly woman who can hardly make it on her own as it is. Get her in a fucking home so she can be with all the other old racist people. Seriously, it's so fucking annoying. Like, I have dated outside of my race before. And my grandmother had a whole fit about it. Like, you don't want your kids to be half this or that. And I'm like, but they're gonna be fully loved. Who cares? Like, that's the thing, is that I can't stand people who sit there and do stuff like that. Like, it just doesn't make any fucking sense. If two people love each other, who the fuck cares? It's none of your business. It's not hurting you. It's not like they're gonna come up and be like, hey, we love each other and we understand that makes you uncomfortable, so can we fuck on you? None of that, that's never going to happen. I don't understand why people have to put themselves into somebody else's business so fucking hard just because it's a situation that they don't like. Okay? Chances are you are never gonna see those people again. So don't fucking worry about it. This case is disgusting because that is where he lives. He should have every right to have his girlfriend come over. And honestly, Granny can either get fucked and stay fucked, or she can go fucking live in like the attic or the basement or something. If she doesn't want her near her, then she can just stay in her fucking room. Oh. Definitely much harder after surgery. Though I don't agree with her, I can't just leave her to fend for herself. It says I can just leave her, and you should. Survival of the fittest, right? That's still a thing. We should. Sorry. I literally do not know what to do. Kick Granny to the curb. Fuck that old lady. My wife says my son is right about me being complacent, but of course she'd agree because her and my mother don't get along well. I know I am not a damned racist, but now everyone is saying I am. I am aiding one by taking my mother's side. So, am I the asshole? Yes. Yes, you fucking are. Because honestly, you know, they have charges for aiding and abetting. They have charges for helping somebody get away from the cops. You know why? Because if you knowingly help somebody escape or keep away from the police, that makes you just as guilty as them. When my brother ran away from the federal police, you know what they hammered into me every single time they spoke to me? If you are helping him, you will go to federal prison too. And you know what? I wasn't fucking helping him because I didn't want to go to federal prison. I wouldn't have helped him anyway. He needed to do the time for what he fucking did. End of story. There never was any other choice for that. And he knows that. He knows that now that he's been found and plopped in jail. Well, prison. So it's... letting somebody get away with shit like that just because they're old or because that's just how they are is not, for one, not a fucking excuse. And two, that makes you just as bad as them. That's like sitting there and, you know, like, oh, like, my grandma comes over and we have a colored friend over, or somebody of a different color skin than me over, and she starts saying shit and I don't immediately tell her to shut the fuck up or get the fuck out. That makes me just as bad as her. I'm sorry. It does. If you sit there and let something bad happen to somebody else, that makes you just as bad as them. When you can sit there and say, hey, that's not okay, shut up, it's your house. That means, you know, these boomers, one of their favorite things is my house, it's my rules. It's time to implement that motherfucker. Listen, Mom, it's my house, my rules. My son can have his girlfriend over, and if you don't like it, you stay in your fucking room. Tough shit. None of that is okay. Absolutely none of that is okay. You don't get to sit there and be like, oh, this or that or this and that. Being old and being a racist, being old is not an excuse for being a racist. The fact that a lot of these people that are like even older than Granny here can learn to work smartphones or Netflix or their smart TVs or their Echoes or their, you know, electronic devices, but they can't learn to stop being racist or learn to shut their fucking mouth when something that they don't just seem to like happens in front of them. Nah, that's not an excuse. Being old is not an excuse anymore. Not for something like that. It just don't work that way. But that, however, is our last story of the day. While that is finishing up here, thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight. For anybody that's here live, I do this. This week I will be going live last night, which was Monday, tonight, which is Tuesday, tomorrow Wednesday, and Thursday night, roughly around these times. So we will. I'm trying to get back to doing just 3 episodes a week, and I've gotten behind when that week that Dusty didn't feel very good. But it's been kind of nice because my husband has been home every night this week, so we get to take Dusty out, we get to do our, you know, nighttime stuff, and then Dusty gets to go in bed with him and kind of lay still, which apparently last night he did not have a very good rest. He was like here and then there and then here and then there and then there and over there, and yeah, until I finally came to bed he did not actually sleep. So I'm gonna hurry up and end this because I will get to bed a little bit sooner tonight. But we're just gonna go ahead and do the outro. Thanks everyone. I'm sorry, I said we were gonna do the outro, not butcher every word in the English fucking language here. I'm sorry. Give me a second. Thanks to everyone for listening today. I hope you all enjoyed the podcast. If you know somebody who likes my content, feel free to send me their way in a share. If you would like to send me a message with your own story, rant, question, unpopular opinion, or if you want me to tell others how you fucked up today, or any day, send me a message via any of my social media found in the description below. Just look for my cute little avatar you see on whatever app you're listening on. My upload schedule is every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at noon Central Time. Please, give a rating if you enjoyed what you heard today. I hear that they help out tremendously. And as always, I will catch you all next time. Bye! You know, someday I'm going to have a better grip on words. However, today is not that day. And something's telling me tomorrow ain't my day either. However, I hope you guys all enjoyed the episode. If you did enjoy and you are watching here on the YouTube, please feel free to hit the subscribe button if that's something that you want, if I am something you want to keep seeing. Leave a comment down below on what your favorite story is or what your opinion on any of the stories is. I would love to read somebody else's opinions on some of these stories, especially some of the ones we read tonight, because damn. The like button if you enjoyed what you saw. The dislike button if you didn't like what you saw, because the dislike button does fuck all anymore, so I don't give a fuck if you hit it. And go ahead and hit that bell icon if the bell icon is your jam. However, that is all for me tonight. I will see you guys Wednesday. Bye!